Most of us grew up with Disney's version. A spunky red-haired mermaid named Ariel falls in love with a handsome prince. She makes a deal with an evil sea witch, trades her voice for legs, and after some adventures involving a fork and a singing crab, she gets the guy. They kiss. The witch dies. Everyone lives happily ever after. Roll credits. It's cute. It's romantic. It's a lie. The real story, the one Hans Christian Andersen wrote in 1837, is nothing like that. It's darker, sadder, and honestly, more honest about what love and sacrifice actually cost. In Andersen's version, the Little Mermaid doesn't even have a name. She's just the Little Mermaid, the youngest of 6 mermaid princesses living in an underwater kingdom. She's described as quiet, thoughtful, and different from her sisters. While they collect treasures from shipwrecks, she tends a garden with red flowers and a marble statue of a beautiful boy. Already, you can see this isn't going to be a fun beach party kind of story. In Andersen's tale, mermaids live for 300 years. They swim through coral castles, play with fish, and live without a care. But here's the catch. When a mermaid dies, she doesn't go to heaven. She doesn't get an afterlife. She just turns into foam on the ocean and disappears forever. No soul, no eternity, just nothing. Humans, on the other hand, only live maybe 70 or 80 years. But when they die, they get something mermaids don't. An immortal soul, a place in heaven, a forever. This idea obsesses the Little Mermaid. She asks her grandmother about it constantly. Why don't we have souls? Why do humans get forever and we just vanish? Her grandmother tells her the only way a mermaid can gain a soul is if a human man falls so deeply in love with her that he marries her. Then his soul would stretch to include hers, and she'd get to live forever too. But that's nearly impossible. Humans think mermaids are strange and ugly. They prefer human women, so mermaids are stuck. Long lives, but no eternity. The Little Mermaid becomes obsessed with this idea, not just with love, but with the soul that comes with it. She wants more than 300 years of swimming. She wants forever. On her 15th birthday, the Little Mermaid is finally allowed to swim to the surface and see the human world. This is a big deal. Mermaids have to wait until they're 15 before they can peek above the waves. When she surfaces, she sees a ship. On that ship is a prince celebrating his birthday. He's handsome, kind, and laughing with his crew. She watches him for hours, mesmerized. Then a storm hits. A violent, brutal storm that tears the ship apart. The prince is thrown into the water, unconscious, drowning. The Little Mermaid saves him. She drags him to shore, lays him on the sand, and hides behind a rock to watch. A young woman from a nearby temple finds him. She calls for help. The prince wakes up and sees this woman's face, not the mermaid's. He thanks her. He thinks she saved him. The Little Mermaid watches all this happen. Her heart breaks, but she says nothing. She slips back into the sea, silent and invisible. From that moment on, she's haunted. She can't stop thinking about the prince, about his smile, about the world above. about the soul she could have if only he loved her. Her sisters notice she's different, sad, distant. They beg her to tell them what's wrong, and finally she does. They try to comfort her, but it's no use. She's made up her mind. She's going to the sea witch. The sea witch lives in a terrifying part of the ocean, a place where the water is thick and dark, where poisonous plants grow, and where the bones of drowned sailors litter the ocean floor. The witch's house is made of the bones of shipwrecked people. Even her garden is filled with creatures that are half plant, half animal, reaching out with slimy fingers. Most mermaids would never go near this place. But the little mermaid is desperate. The sea witch knows exactly why she's come. "You want legs," she says, grinning. "You want to walk on land and make that prince fall in love with you." The little mermaid nods. "I can give you legs," the witch says, "but it will cost you." Here's where things get dark, really dark. The witch explains the deal. She'll brew a potion that will turn the mermaid's tail into legs. But there are conditions. Terrible ones. First, it will hurt, not just a little. Every step the mermaid takes will feel like walking on sharp knives, like blades slicing into her feet with every single step. She'll smile through it, but inside, she'll be in agony. Second, she'll lose her voice. The witch will cut out her tongue. Not temporarily, forever. She'll never speak again, never sing again. And the mermaid has the most beautiful voice in the entire ocean. It's her greatest gift, and she has to give it up. Third, and this is the worst part, if the prince marries someone else, the morning after his wedding, the little mermaid will die. She won't just lose him. She'll turn into foam on the sea and vanish forever. No soul. No second chance. Nothing. But if he does marry her, she'll gain a soul and live forever. The little mermaid agrees, without hesitation. She drinks the potion. The pain is immediate and horrible. It feels like a sword slicing through her body. She passes out. When she wakes up, she's on the beach, naked, with 2 human legs. And standing over her is the prince. The prince is charmed by her. She's beautiful, graceful, and mysterious. He takes her back to his palace, dresses her in silk and velvet, and keeps her by his side. She becomes his favorite companion. But she can't tell him who she is. She can't say, "I saved you. I dragged you from the sea. I gave up everything for you." She's mute, silent, trapped in her own body. And every step she takes feels like walking on knives. She dances for him anyway. She's the best dancer in the palace. She twirls and leaps and smiles even though every movement is torture. Because she loves him. Because she wants him to love her back. But he doesn't. He loves her, yes, but like a sister, like a pet. He tells her, "You remind me of a girl I once met. A girl from a temple who saved my life. She's the one I truly love." The little mermaid's heart shatters, but she says nothing. She can't. The prince is kind to her. He lets her sleep outside his door like a loyal dog. He takes her on trips. He treasures her company. But he doesn't see her as a wife. He doesn't love her the way she loves him. And then the worst thing happens. The prince's parents arrange a marriage. He's going to meet a princess from a neighboring kingdom. He agrees to go, not because he wants to marry her, but because he's curious. The little mermaid goes with him on the ship. She watches the waves and remembers her sisters, her father, her grandmother. She remembers the ocean, the home she gave up. When they arrive, the prince meets the princess. And by pure, cruel chance, she's the girl from the temple, the one he thinks saved him. He falls to his knees. He proposes immediately. The wedding is planned for the next day. The little mermaid stands there, silent, her heart turning to ice. The wedding is beautiful. There are flowers, music, and cannons firing in celebration. The little mermaid is dressed in silk and gold and forced to hold the bride's train. She smiles. She has no choice. That night, the newlyweds go to their cabin. The little mermaid is left alone on the deck of the ship, staring at the sea. She knows what's coming. At dawn, she'd die. She'd turn into foam and disappear. Suddenly, her sisters rise from the water. But they look different. Their long, beautiful hair is gone. They've cut it all off. We gave our hair to the sea witch, they cry. And she gave us this. They hand her a knife, a dagger that glints in the moonlight. Kill the prince, they beg her. Stab him in the heart before sunrise. Let his blood drip onto your feet. Your legs will turn back into a tail, and you can come home. You'll live. You'll be a mermaid again. The little mermaid takes the knife. She creeps into the prince's cabin. She sees him sleeping peacefully next to his new wife, his bride, the woman he loves. She raises the knife. Her hand shakes. She could do it. She could save herself. One quick stab, and she'd have her life back. Her voice might still be gone, but she'd have 300 more years. She'd see her family again. She'd swim through the coral gardens and tend her flowers. But she looks at his face, the face she loves, the face she saved from the sea, and she can't do it. She throws the knife into the ocean. She climbs to the edge of the ship, and as the sun begins to rise, she throws herself into the sea. Her body dissolves. She turns into foam, just as the sea witch promised. She feels herself fading, disappearing, becoming nothing. But then something strange happens. Instead of vanishing completely, the little mermaid feels herself rising. She's no longer in the water. She's floating in the air, weightless and transparent. Around her are other spirits, beautiful and glowing. Who are you? She asks and realizes with shock that she has a voice again. We are the daughters of the air, they tell her. We have no souls either, but we can earn them. We fly around the world doing good deeds. For every child who smiles, we move closer to heaven. For every act of kindness, we earn a piece of eternity. After 300 years of service, we gain a soul. The little mermaid looks down at the ship, at the prince standing on the deck, searching the water for her. He's crying. He knows she's gone. You sacrificed everything for love, the spirits tell her. You gave up your voice, your home, your family, and even your chance to kill him and save yourself. Because of that, you don't have to wait 300 years. Your good heart has brought you here. Now you can earn your soul. And so the little mermaid joins the daughters of the air. She rises into the sky, invisible and free. She'll fly over the world, bringing cool breezes to sick children and comfort to the suffering. And one day, after enough kindness, she'll finally earn what she always wanted, an immortal soul. So why did Hans Christian Andersen write such a sad story? Why not give the mermaid her happy ending? Because Andersen understood something about love that Disney doesn't like to admit. Love doesn't always work out. Sacrifice doesn't always get rewarded. Sometimes you give everything, and you still lose. Andersen himself knew this pain. He fell in love many times in his life, and every time he was rejected. He loved people who didn't love him back. He poured his heart into relationships that went nowhere, and he wrote that pain into his stories. The Little Mermaid is about unrequited love. It's about loving someone so much that you destroy yourself for them, even knowing they'll never love you back. It's about the agony of silence, of not being able to speak your truth. But it's also about something deeper. It's about the soul. In Andersen's time, people believed that suffering brought you closer to God, that pain and sacrifice were paths to heaven. The Little Mermaid doesn't get the prince, but she gets something better. A chance at eternity. A soul earned through selflessness and love. Andersen wrote this story in 1837, and it became one of his most famous works. But it also became one of his most controversial. Some people thought it was too sad for children. Others thought it was too religious. And some just couldn't handle the tragedy of it all. But Andersen didn't care. He wrote what he felt, and what he felt was that love, real love, often hurts. For over 150 years, Andersen's ending stood. Sure, there were adaptations and retellings, but most of them kept the tragic core of the story. The Little Mermaid died. That was the point. Then, in 1989, Disney decided to make an animated movie. They took Andersen's story and flipped it completely. In Disney's version, Ariel gets her voice back. She fights the sea witch. Her father turns her human permanently. She marries the prince. They sail off into the sunset. Happy ending, roll credits. It's a completely different story. Same characters, same setup, opposite message. Disney didn't want tragedy. They wanted hope, romance, and songs you could sing along to. And honestly, it worked. The movie was a massive success. It saved Disney's animation studio and launched a whole new era of princess movies. But it also erased the entire point of Andersen's tale. The original story wasn't about getting the guy. It was about what you're willing to lose for love, and what happens when love isn't enough. Disney gave us a mermaid who fights for her happy ending and wins. Andersen gave us a mermaid who fights for her happy ending and loses, but finds something deeper in the process. Both versions are powerful, but they tell completely different truths. Today, Hans Christian Andersen's version of The Little Mermaid is still being read, studied, and debated. It's taught in literature classes. It's analyzed by scholars. And it still makes people cry. Because the truth is, Most of us have been the little mermaid at some point in our lives. We've loved someone who didn't love us back. We've sacrificed pieces of ourselves, hoping it would be enough. We've walked on knives, smiled through pain, and stayed silent when we should have spoken. Andersen's story reminds us that sometimes love isn't fair. Sometimes you do everything right and still lose. But that doesn't mean your love was worthless. It doesn't mean your sacrifice was for nothing. The little mermaid didn't get the prince, but she got something more important. She kept her kindness. She refused to become cruel or vengeful, and in the end, that's what saved her. Not the prince's love, her own goodness. That's a message worth remembering, even if it hurts. So tonight, when you think about The Little Mermaid, maybe don't picture the Disney version. Picture the real one. Picture a girl dissolving into foam at sunrise. Picture her sisters weeping in the waves. Picture a prince who never knew the truth. And picture a spirit rising into the air, finally free, finally able to speak, finally on her way to earning the soul she always wanted. It's not a happy ending, but it's an honest one. And maybe that's what fairy tales were supposed to be all along. Not stories that promise everything will work out, but stories that remind us that even when things fall apart, even when love fails, even when we lose everything, we can still choose kindness. We can still choose to be good. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. The original Little Mermaid doesn't end with a wedding. It ends with a choice. A choice to love without needing anything in return. A choice to let go. A choice to rise. And that, more than any glass slipper or magic kiss, is what real courage looks like. So the next time someone tells you about happily ever after, remember the Little Mermaid? Remember that she gave everything and got nothing. And remember that she's still one of the greatest heroes ever written. Not because she won, but because she loved anyway.